think that's my cue.
I think it is your cue, Reverend Pond.
Good morning. And happy Easter. Yes. Happy Passover. Well, we were trying to debate, do we say happy Passover? Well, it's all about the celebration of the escape from slavery and the observance of the continuing month of Ramadan. Whatever traditions you bring with you as we join together, know that we are glad to have you here, and may I say, it is wonderful to see some smiling faces uncovered and just the chance to be together in new ways with one another. This is great. Good to see your smiling faces. Our Unitarian Universalists of Transylvania County mission is to support individual spiritual journeys and to promote social, economic, and environmental justice. We welcome you. If there is a deep joy or concern in your heart, I would like to know that. Please share it with this community. You can ask an usher for a piece of paper, and the usher will bring it forward to me so that I have it in time later for the prayer time. We have one hand up here. Yeah. And if later you want to gesture for that too, you can do that. Later during the prayer time I'll prepare. We're changing the way that we're doing the candles. This week we'll still do it the way we've been doing it all during COVID-19. But next week what we're going to ask is when you get here early. Do you hear your ministers saying get here early? When you get here early, you will be able to light your own candle silently and then leave the note for me so that I can include what the candle joy or concern is for the prayer. Yes, we invite you to move to the social hall after this service, and you've heard people from up front say that before, but now I'm going to say, because there's coffee. The Nulls will be serving up coffee, and Nancy Potter's also brought baked goods. So I know some of you just wanted to do it the old way and exit out the side door right straight to your car, but you might not want to do that. So hope you enjoy it. And if you can sign up and volunteer to do coffee in the future, there's a clipboard on the main counter in the lobby. The Nulls agreed for this week. I don't think we have anybody for next week, but we promised people coffee, so I hope you'll sign up to help serve. Thank you. Please join me in saying our unison opening words that are on the screen above us. May we have eyes that delight in beauty, the majesty of nature, the wonder of a smile. Let us glory in being together. And please join and rise as you're willing and able and sing as you wish our opening hymn. This is an Easter hymn, number 61, Lo, the Earth Awakes Again. Oh, the is there someone in this side of the room, whatever age you are, who would like to grab hold of the candle wand and light the chalice? Sorry, folks, I'm just asking this side of the room. Would you like to? Please come forward. All right, this is going to take a moment as a brand new wick to start up. And while that's happening, we're going to get the words on the screen for our unison opening. Thank you. You go ahead and light that chalice. Right on the top of it. There you go. Got it. You can blow that out. Thank you. We seek life's meaning in the wonder of morning, in the freshness of springtime, and in each other's hearts and minds, yet still we hope for something more, a break in the ordinary, an infusion of the unexpected, an explosion of glory, a miracle revealing more than we hope to understand. You know, this is the time of Passover, started Friday evening. How many of you have participated, I'll raise my hand, because I have, in a Passover Seder? Maybe in a Unitarian Universalist context, maybe a home context or community Passover Seder. Yeah, so what's one of the things that we do when we're doing a Passover Seder? One is we open the door. Now, they're making coffee on that side, and it's going to smell too good, so we're not going to open that one. But Alice, if you could prop that door open there for the whole rest of the service, because we want Elijah here. We want, if Elijah's going to show up, Elijah's going to show up in here. And that's a big part of the start of understanding a family ritual at the holiday. You know, a lot of times, I remember growing up, we did Easter growing up at our Unitarian Universalist home. We'd do Easter. And we were the ones who had all the extended family come to our home for Easter Sunday. Well, on Passover, you go to the family gatherings, or as I said, maybe a local gathering, and have a meal too. But the meal for Easter was mostly, okay, were we passing clockwise or not? And the rules were very unclear. But for Passover, it's really clear. You have the youngest ask questions. Why is this night, we don't have it this way? And you have only certain foods, and they're displayed on a plate. And some of those foods you may recognize, and some of them, it's like, oh, a bitter herb? We didn't necessarily in Easter time have a bitter herb. And you have the matzah, the flatbread. Well, we had like puffy potato rolls that came in a plastic bag, you know. So there are differences, but the thing is, when we get to the chance to be together, and I want to mention during the month of Ramadan too, when we get the chance to be together, no matter what religious traditions we're from, we enjoy the meal together and remembering stories of why we're doing it. Ramadan, for those of you who are not familiar, is the month in which you fast during the day, and then you have a grand meal, hopefully a happy meal and gathering with people in the evening. So again, how are we gathering specially for meals in this time? I will say, for those of you who may have fidgety folks around, I finally came of age when I realized what my mom and dad had done one Easter Sunday and the way in which they parented me. This is a big Easter message for us all. How many of us have ever been fidgety? Get in the way and underfoot of the people who are really trying to make it ready for all the guests, okay? Big deal. China, silver, everything. What do you do when there are fidgety people? You give them something to do. Well, my parents weren't too much about having us sit down in front of the TV, and Easter Sunday TV was pretty boring anyway. So what did they have us do? They had set up a scavenger hunt for my brother and I to go off all through the woods. And somehow the day before they had put notes under rocks and in trees, and you have to go certain paces following a compass north, and you had to do, and we spent the whole Easter morning following the notes all through until we returned home and were told to go to the basement and find our special gifts. Well, maybe it wasn't the basement, but it was some out-of-the-way corner. And there were special gifts. I can still remember the gigantic stuffed Easter egg pillow I got. Now, what does this have to do with the Easter message? All religious holidays take a lot of preparation, and not everybody can be the cooks and the chiefs. But everybody, door open, is welcome when it's time for the meal. And we can all respect each other and the ways in which all of us have to be ready for the good energy of the time that we're going to be together. I want you to remember that with coffee hour. Not all of you can be out there making coffee all at once. Not all of you should be spending the time interrupting the coffee makers. But we all go in with joy into what it is that we can share in our conversations around the food that we share. We can all find the way into the depth of the meaning and asking the questions, what is this holiday about? And I'll say more about that later. But in all of it, in whatever cultures, households we come from, I hope you have found the ways in which rolling into your holiday meal is less stress, more enjoyment, with the door open to those who will arrive. All right, folks. This, for our last Sunday of doing it this way, I am going to be lighting the candles over here. When we have a deep joy or sorrow in this community, we believe our connection helps multiply that joy. And our compassion eases the pain of our grief and our sorrow. We've paused each week during COVID-19 to open our hearts in this particular way of doing the cycle of life. Next week, as I said, I'll be asking you to light your own candles as you arrive for the service, so that I can include notes in the pastoral prayer rather than reading the generic ones week after week. If you are watching this live online, please share joys and sorrows in the chat, and we will light a candle overall for them. And when the notes are passed along to me, I will include them in the prayer, which may not be till next service, but they will be included. Even as the horrors of the past season's waves have ended and given breathing space, still, we honor and remember the heroics of the frontline workers on whom the burdens and risks of the COVID pandemic have fallen most heavily with this candle of gratitude. And with this candle, we celebrate our circle of loving community and a sense of reunion at springtime. May the circle of love bloom larger, wider, until it embraces and heals this whole community and this broken world. We light a candle for the refugees of war and all who are fearful during these holidays. We light a candle for the milestones that were listed or being listed just now in the chat online. And we light a candle for all the joys and sorrows and milestones that remain unspoken at this time. Please continue in this spirit of prayer. Spirit of love and life, we who are gathered here on this Easter Sunday are overjoyed to have the room more full, to know that our community is still here, alive, well, and able to celebrate on this momentous religious weekend with one another. for all who are feeling that they are away in a cave. May you find the messages of hope of this season, of escape, deeply moving, empowering, and encouraging. May we remember that those who are not here may be suffering from various ailments, still recovering from various cancer treatments, recovering from time in the hospital, or still there. I lift up only some of the names: Tom Bindrum, Bill Kimsey, Gloria Sanders, all whose names on the roll we remember. We lift out our hearts to you. We also bring prayers and gratitude for teachers, looking towards the last quarter of a very difficult, up and down, COVID or not, school year. These, the prayers of our hearts, we hold now in the silence. In the names of all those known and unknown, remembered and forgotten, in the names of all the helpers of humankind. Amen. Blessed be. Our time, talent, treasure, and the trust that you place in us are all important. This is a time in the service in which we remember that we do not live just for ourselves, but we give some of the best of ourselves to this place, that this place may also give outwardly as well. The envelopes for the special collection, for the children needing the support in this community for abuse and bad situations, or whatever extra donations you throw in that you haven't given online or from automatic withdrawal to this institution, this church, this family. We are grateful for what you give. We now receive the morning offering.
Alleluia, sing Alleluia.
Thank you, Gypsy. Thank you, Alice. What is given in love, we receive with great joy, and we say thank you. I heard someone over here say, yes. I wholeheartedly agree. The reading I chose for this morning is in our hymn book. It's number 632, and it's the words by Alla Renee Bozarth. And it's something to help us, again, reformat the religious holidays, to think again in new words of, in this case, Passover, but for all. Pack nothing. Bring only your determination to serve and your willingness to be free. Don't wait for the bread to rise. Take nourishment for the journey, but eat standing. Be ready to move at a moment's notice. Do not hesitate to leave your old ways behind. Fear, silence, submission. Only surrender to the need of the time to love justice and to walk humbly with your God. Begin quickly, before you have time to sink back into old slavery. Set out in the dark. I will send fire to warm and encourage you. I will be with you in the fire, and I will be with you in the cloud. I will give you dreams in the desert to guide you safely home to that place you have not yet seen. I am sending you into the wilderness. I am sending you into the wilderness to make a new way and to learn my ways more deeply. Some of you will be so changed by the weathers and wandering that even your closest friends will have to learn your features as though for the first time. Some of you will not change at all. Some of you will be abandoned by your dearest loves and misunderstood by those who have known you since birth and feel abandoned by you. Some will find new friendship in unlikely faces, and old friends as faithful and true as the pillars of God's flame. Sing songs as you go and hold close together. You may at times grow confused and lose your way. Touch each other and keep telling the stories. Make maps as you go, remembering the way back from before you were born, so that you will be only the first of many waves of deliverance on these desert seas. It is the first of many beginnings. Your Paschaltide. So remain true to the mystery. Pass on the whole story. Do not go back. I am with you now, and I am waiting for you. Awakening. It's said that during the time of the Passover story, going back to the time of Moses, that the people had felt that they were disconnected from God. I would say for all of us who have suffered through the tears and the trauma of COVID-19, of the ups and downs of watching humans do the worst to each other on the news day after day, that we may in fact feel that way ourselves. Or we may feel that we're stuck. We're stuck in our relationship. We're stuck in a job we don't need. We're stuck in some way of not feeling fully alive and awake. And that story, and the way that story was rewritten in that reading, tells us, no, I am with you and I'm waiting for you. Now, what does that mean? I'm with you, I'm waiting for you. I don't know if you've ever had a loved one look you in the eye and say, I'm here and I'm waiting for you. Not, I'm waiting for you, but I'm waiting for you. As if right on the edge of their seats, knowing that you could be awake in that moment and bring who you are out of whatever you've been distracted by into the newness. Now, awakening means to spring into being and arise, and it's interesting in the Soul Matters packet, it also says the Old English means to originate. How are we originated in our awakening? Last week's service, mentioned the awakening of Jesus, the moment of parading in on the donkey on Palm Sunday. Awakening to the fullness of what was happening and what role was there. Last month, from the pagan traditions, at the change of the equinox, the balance of day and night, spring equinox, we talked about Ostara, the goddess, and we see the evidence out the windows, the clean windows, from our workday last weekend. Last year, during this service, I included a quote, and I see it again in our Soul Matters packet on awakening this month. It said, the path of awakening is not about becoming who you are, rather it is about unbecoming who you are not. Now, I like to read Albert Schweitzer, and, little tidbit here, Albert Schweitzer had joined the Church of the Larger Fellowship, the Unitarian Mail Order Church. I don't know that Albert Schweitzer at the end really had tied down to any one religion, but it kind of fits in with what I was saying in the beginning in the Wisdom for All Ages. Wait a minute, we're all going to join together for a meal. And this is the month of Ramadan. This is the week of Passover. This is the day of Easter. I like that Albert Schweitzer went out to serve, to live out a mission. I feel like Albert Schweitzer was awake, had been awake, was in some way awakened, and saying to others, the path of awakening is not about becoming who you are, rather it is about unbecoming who you are not. There's a deep message in this that I want you as your minister to hear me say. Easter isn't about we get the old way back. Easter is about watching the old way die and what we relied upon dying, being sealed up to be safe, wrapped carefully, honored, and left for dead. And Easter is, wait a minute, we went back to do something with a corpse, and instead we have an open tomb, and we have something brand new to do next. The story is that Jesus appears as they're walking along, and Jesus appears with them, and Jesus wants to eat and drink with them. But already it's pretending that that's not going to be the way anymore. What's going to be the way is everybody awakening to what they are, who they are, and what they can bring. And from that point, we then get a Bible full of all of these mismatched stories of people trying to say, all right, it's up to us. And that's what I feel like UUTC is about. It's up to us. It's not up to us to unseal the tomb from 2019 and say, we're going back to pre-COVID, although today is about as close as we're going to get. No, we could get closer. Come on, folks. Come on back. And for the folks watching from distance, I know, I'm loving it that you're watching it from a distance because this is an important place to show up, even if on the computer. For those of you who could have gotten over here, I want to remind you, for those of you worried about your safety, that, the studies show that people who go to church live longer. All these folks have just earned living points. And you say, oh, on Easter Sunday, Bob's been really God-like and talking about you're going to live longer. Well, you know what? It's what we learned when the tomb was emptied, and that was the people had to carry forward, and some of them didn't do too well with it. Some of them tried to hide and deny that they had ever followed Jesus. Some of them stayed away. No, you know what? No, I'm not going to show up. And some of them said, no, I'm going to go out there and I'm going to travel. Now that we don't have to stay, I'm going to go travel. I'm going to be something. I'm going to go and spread word of what I'm awakened to. Again, thinking about Albert Schweitzer, he didn't stay in one place. He went to where he thought what he could do for others could happen. Now, this is conflicting for a minister in one moment to say, all come back to church, and the next moment saying it was really great the disciples went and wandered away. But that is the awakening. The awakening is that you come here and you realize who you are, and then you go out into the world and you do it. And you spread the word of what you really know to be true, and you don't wait for somebody else to do it. You awaken to it. John Kabat-Zinn is the author of Coming Out to Our Senses, Healing Ourselves in the World Through Mindfulness. And some of you know that I went on Buddhist retreat when I was on sabbatical, and I try to absorb some of the things that people say from other religious traditions and practices. And even though I fail time and again with meditation practices, I do it. John Kabat-Zinn said this: all suffering, stress, and addiction comes from not realizing you already are what you are looking for. And I want to say that's the Easter joy. You already are what you are looking for. You can take it from here. Go for it. And don't go back to sleep again. Although I will say you have permission to do that as much as possible, because the Vipassana Buddhist instructor who was helping me, the great tolerant teacher, teaching my group, would say seated there in a lovely meditative position, and I'd go and talk to her later and say, my mind is going all over the place, and maybe for a split second, I have a moment of which I remember and my mind is clear and I am finally meditating, and then it's gone again, and my laundry list is there. If that happens 1,000 times, then you have succeeded 1,000 times. So I guess I just had to keep waking up. a split second at a time, and then bring it out into what I live. I got a quote that I've been meditating on. You know, I do a poetry and meditation group, and there's one that I've been meditating on this week from Linda Paston. It's from Imaginary Conversation. You tell me to live each day as if it were my last, but why the last, I ask? Why not live each day as if it were the first, all raw astonishment? Eve rubbing her eyes awake the first morning. Oh, sit with that message for a week. Eve rubbing her eyes awake the first morning. I could burst out into, morning has broken like the first morning. Blackbird has spoken like the first word. Did I get wrong? Did I get wrong? It doesn't matter. The poetry is the message. The reality is the awakening. I would love for us to understand the Easter message and the Passover and the Ramadan messages to being, remember why we do this. We'll have a communion service for those who wish at 10:30, so we catch people between services. And it says, do this in remembrance of me. And when I was a kid, there was a table at the front of our Unitarian Universalist congregation, and I didn't realize, because there was always a cloth covering it, it said, in remembrance of me. And I thought, wow, somebody who gave this really expensive table wanted to say, in remembrance of me, and then not have a brass plaque with their name on it. That was so humble. This is a disadvantage growing up as a Unitarian Universalist. Sometimes we get a lot about religious holidays, but we don't understand in remembrance of me until we're grown up and going through theological school. Well, maybe I didn't have to wait that long. But going till we're later understanding in remembrance of me is part of the ritual of doing something in remembrance. We're doing it in remembrance of somebody who woke up and said, listen, folks, you got it. You already got it. Have meals together and remember, who are you? Whose are you? And go out from that nourishment and knowledge and do it. John O'Donohue was quoted in our poetry and meditation class this week. Not this particular quote, but it made me go back and look for something from him again, because the way in which we share the poems makes a difference in my life. And this one, and I've liked John O'Donohue for the messages. This is from Beauty, the Invisible Embrace. We live between the act of awakening and the act of surrender. Each morning we awaken to the light and the invitation to a new day in the world of time. Each night we surrender to the dark to be taken to play in the world of dreams where time is no more. At birth we are awakened and emerged to become visible in the world, and at death we will surrender again to the dark to become invisible. Awakening and surrender, they frame each day and each life. Between them, the journey where anything can happen. Between them, the journey where anything can happen. The beauty and the frailty. On an Easter morning, how could we wish anything different? Messages of being born and dying, of awakening, and the surrendering we do as well. The letting go and letting whatever bubble up. To live by grace, whether it is to understand that the seas will part before us if we're willing to escape slavery and follow what we know is a truer, deeper value. To discipline ourselves to go without food during the day and join back joyously with our community in the evening during Ramadan to pray 5 times a day and surrender to that which we find holy. To remember that the tomb was empty and know that we are surrounded by grace and that everything, if we look for it, is sacred. Heifetz, another culture, another time, said, as our closing quote, "This is the time for you to compute the impossibility that there is anything but grace. Now is the season to know that everything you do is sacred. Blessed be. Thank you." And the Day of Days is here. Continuing in the Christian tradition, let us sing closing hymn number 269, "Lo, the Day of Days is here." As I light our chalice, let's remember that we still do have communion for those who want it at 10:30, or go on outside with your coffee and enjoy watching the children on their egg and canned good hunt. This service has ended. Your service has begun. May you go out into this wonderful world awake with joy that the stone rolled back from the tomb and brings its promise for the future. And as you go forth to new vistas, far from the horrors of past years, may you find the waters parted before you. Blessings on all of us. And may we, in our awakened state, be a blessing to others as we go, fully authentic. Amen. Blessed be. Happy Easter.